Ah, is this sweet? I can't tell.
Okay, so, yeah, doing my top 5 albums.
So like the cheese.
Yeah, doing my top 5 albums of the 70s. So, let's bust right the fuck on into it. Let's do, I have Pink Floyd, The Wall, is my number 5. You know, released in 1979. This is probably the best concept album, one of my favorite concept albums ever. I don't know if, this is Pink Floyd at their very best. I mean, I honestly can't listen to too much Pink Floyd besides what's on this album. I can listen to Wish You Were Here, but that's about it. The Wall is just... No. The Wall is just...
He likes to get Dark Side of the Moon.
Shut up. But, yeah, The Wall is just I mean, you know, the story's really cool and how dark it gets about isolation and the stories, you know, about... Pink trying to, you know, get away from the world. It's just a great story and a great bunch of songs. Number 4, I have Boston's debut album. They're self-titled Boston. Released in 77. You know, this is one of the strongest debut albums ever. It's only beaten out by a couple albums. One of them is actually later on my list. But, you know, this has probably some of the most iconic you know, Boston songs ever. I mean, More Than a Feeling, which is their main song. It has Foreplay Long Time, Peace of Mind, Smokin', Rock and Roll Band. It's just a great album. And I mean, it's an album I like to jam a lot. I mean, it's just really a really fun listen to. So it's probably one of my my favorite. It is my favorite Boston band, but a Boston album. Wow. But yeah, it's pretty cool. Number 3, I have Paranoid by Black Sabbath. So this is probably one of the most important metal albums ever. I mean, this album, you know, has of course the classic Black Sabbath tracks like Paranoid, War Pigs, Iron Man, and it's just the album that I think solidified Black Sabbath's sound. I mean, the debut was kind of like a good intro, but the debut kind of lacked direction, I feel sometimes, whereas this album is metal. This is you know, his album is amazing, and so that's why it's my number 3. Number 2, I have Led Zeppelin 4. Out of all the Led Zeppelin albums, this is my personal favorite. You know, this album has a lot of great songs. It has Rock and Roll, Black Dog, you know, some of the big ones. I mean, of course, Stairway to Heaven, which Stairway to Heaven is big, and you know, basically this album is filled with just Zeppelin classics. I think more so than any other Zeppelin album. If you want to listen to a lot of Zeppelin songs, good Zeppelin songs in one place, you want to listen to Led Zeppelin 4. Or technically it's not titled, but it's given the name Led Zeppelin 4. So, but definitely Zeppelin's the best album in my opinion. And then my number 1 album of the 70s is pronounced Lynyrd Skynyrd by Lynyrd Skynyrd, which is, as I said earlier, Lynyrd Skynyrd's debut album, and it is my personal favorite debut album ever made. I think it is the strongest debut album. I mean, you look at this album, has songs like Freebird, Give Me 3 Steps, Tuesday's Gone, Simple Man, I Ain't the One, the Ballad of Curtis Lowe. There's just so many great songs, and it's classic Skynyrd. I mean, if you like Southern rock or classic rock in general, this is the album. This is to me, this album is just perfect. It's one of my favorite albums of all time. It's just, I think the perfect album, I think, to summarize the 70s. I mean, kind of a lot of the sounds that all the bands that I have are trying to go for are kind of on this album. And I mean, it's why Lynyrd Skynyrd is probably one of my favorite bands, if not my favorite band ever. So, yeah, that's my top 5 albums of the 70s. So, catch you later.
Hey, what's up? I'm here with my top 5 albums of the 1970s. These are my top 5 albums. They're not Sam's top 5 albums.
Actually,
they're not Keith's top 5 albums.
Actually, it is.
They're not Tyler's top 5 albums. They're my top 5 albums. So, number 5, I have Hotel California by the Eagles. The album was released in 1973, and in my opinion, this is the Eagles when they were at their best. Don Henley and Mike, I can't remember his name. I don't know, but
Shear.
yeah, Mike Shear. But Don Henley was just writing, he was able to just write out of his ass at this point in time, and this was probably, in my opinion, the best Eagles album that they released until Hell Freezes Over. Number 4, I have 2112 by none other than the Gods of the North, Rush. This album came out in 1976. And if you've never heard 2112, I say you have to listen to this album. This is probably one of the first true concept albums that I heard, and honestly one of the best to date concept albums. Number 3, I have Houses of the Holy by Led Zeppelin. This album had a lot of my favorite Zeppelin songs, with House of the Holy, Dire Maker, I believe, no, The Ocean was not on this album, Over the Hills and Far Away, which is probably one of my favorite songs by Led Zeppelin. Just a fantastic album. Number 2, I have The Wall by Pink Floyd. Again, another concept album. And again, probably one of the best concept albums that has ever been made, because it was so different. It kind of focused on the band itself and kind of their issues with drugs and alcohol and kind of the things that were going on in the UK at this time. And my number 1, I have Led Zeppelin 4. Now, this album had, no, this didn't have Stairway, Stairway was 2, but this had Ramble On and Battle of Evermore and...
Stairway was on.
What, Stairway was 2?
The Stairway was 4.
Stairway was 4?
Yeah.
That's right, Ramble On was 2. But Stairway to Heaven, who doesn't know Stairway to Heaven? You can just hear that song starting up and you're like, oh, this is Stairway. So, just fantastic work by Led Zeppelin. Again, Led Zeppelin probably at their peak. So, yeah, those are my top 5 albums of the 80s. Now we'll go to, I don't know who's going next. But, always keep an eye out for more. See ya.